If you guys can. All right, so we want it. There's always something that pops up and makes it difficult to, there we go. There we go. All right, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about what the Shred 10 is. Some of us have been doing it for years, and some of us, this is pretty new to us. So the Shred 10 is very exciting. It's very effective, and it's very doable. It's versatile. You make it work for you. It is not, however, a lose 10 pounds in 10 days program. It's a lifestyle program of 10 foundational guidelines, and it's versatile so that you can do one simple change at a time, or you can go all in for people who want to jump in and take control of their health and get results fast. So to help you figure out what works best for you, we like to suggest a 10-day all-in jumpstart that offers a community of fun support for 10 days. And we do that mainly through our Facebook health support page. And you can contact the person that invited you here, and they can explain what that's going to be like for you. And if you're not a Facebook person, that's okay. We can do a one-on-one kind of a health coaching, cheering you on and sharing tips and tricks along the way as to how to get the most success out of the Shred 10. So then afterwards, our hope is that you decide that you want to continue on implementing these guidelines into your life as a lifestyle. But you make it work for you. So, and the reason that we need to do this is because our world is very toxic. And the way that we combat the toxins is, in a nutshell, just a real brief overview, is with eating more fruits and vegetables. We can't do that on our own. And one of the guidelines we utilize is the Juice Plus products. And that's why we use the trio as well as the complete shake. I'll talk a little bit about the omegas in a minute, but here, look at all those plant foods we have. Talk about flooding your body, right? Just imagine, if you haven't already been doing so, what would shift in your health if you were getting 45 whole plant foods in your body every morning before you walked out the door or started your day. Pretty amazing. And it has definitely been a shift changer for many of us here that have been loosely implementing these guidelines in our life already. So this is one of them, flooding our body with more plant foods, including the omegas. Here you've got 6 more plants. And that eliminates the concern that we have with some of the fish oils that are out there. And there's not one cell in our body that doesn't utilize these omegas, as Dr. Sears will share a little bit later. So here are the guidelines. In addition to the plant foods with the Juice Plus capsules, you're going to be eating more fruits and vegetables. You're going to be consuming 1 or 2 complete shakes a day. And we also have another shake. I'm going to go over the shakes in a minute, but the newest shake has more protein in it for those that are really concerned about performance and recovery. We're going to focus on drinking more water, breathing, resting, getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep, which is super important and one of the most impactful things that I've noticed in the Shred 10. Exercising most days, and you're going to reduce or eliminate completely if you can. Again, it's not perfection we're striving for, it's improvement. So there's a lot of great tips to just reduce caffeine and alcohol if you can't completely eliminate them. Eating after 6 p.m. again, it's all having to do with allowing the body to recover and heal itself. And we want it to do that without having glucose in our system in the evening. We, of course, want to reduce and eliminate processed foods. Gluten and dairy, we want to eliminate, and artificial and refined sugars. And for those of you who, have odd jobs where you work midnight shifts, or you're a nursing mother, elite athletes, you adjust it to make it work for you. There's no hard and fast rules. These are just really great suggestions that have worked for most of us. And when you sign up for the Shred 10, you get all of these beautiful free resources. Once you've ordered your Juice Plus products, you get a Shred 10 guide where you can take measurements, and there's lots of education in there as to why these guidelines are in place and how they work and how the body works with them. You are also going to get access to lots of educational videos, a support page on Facebook, lots of cooking recipes for both the complete shake as well as cooking more fruits and vegetables, helping you get creative and enjoy having fun eating healthier. And of course, you're going to want to share it with other people. So make sure that you share this event every first Wednesday of the month. And the people that you care about, you can ask them to join us and learn about it as well. These are some of the most common Shred 10 results that people experience. I have experienced probably every single one of these on this list. I could check it off. Craving more fruits and vegetables? Yep. Healthier weight? Yep. Better recovery from my workout? Yes. Improved sleep? Definitely. Increased energy? Yes. Healthier hair, nails, and skin? My family noticed that with just consuming the capsules in the first few months of that. Improved regularity, super important. Dr. Sears has a few things to say about that as well. And that is definitely our family's experience. Super important. Increased mental clarity, absolutely. When you eat cleaner, you think cleaner. Not necessarily cleaner thoughts, but you just have more clarity, if that makes more sense. So I'm super excited about sharing the Shred 10 as well as the Juice Plus products with everybody. So I'm really glad you're all here and excited to hear what Dr. Sears has to say as well.
Thank you, Jody. So appreciate that. And Jody always does a fabulous job. And she's a really great support person when you need support in a lot of different areas. And she's one of the best masseuses I've ever had still to this day. So it's too bad she lives far away, but we get to see each other, a few times a year now, which is pretty awesome. So thank you again.
Come to Tennessee, baby.
There we go. Or you can come to Florida. That's right. So let me pull this back up and we will welcome our guest. So Dr. Bill Sears, as I said, is just wowed us this morning, and we have just been on fire. My mouth is hurt from so much smiling and laughing and discussions, from texts to emails to calls to RSVPs just since this morning. And Dr. Bill Sears, and he goes by Dr. Bill often, as his little patients call him, has been in practice over 50 years. He'll expand and tell you and share a lot of things as we go along, but I want to make sure you know he's received his medical training at Harvard Medical School. He's been at Children's Hospital in Boston, the Hospital for Sick Children in Toronto, the world's largest children's hospital. He was Associate Ward Chief of Newborn Intensive Care Unit before serving as Chief of Pediatrics at Toronto Western Hospital. And you can just see we can go on and on and on and on. And it's really important because, again, he went, what's so beautiful about Dr. Sears is he's taken all this very scientific education, but he makes it where a 2-year-old or a 50-year-old or an 80-year-old can be excited about it, understand it, implement it, feel good about it. And he's a father of 8 children. He'll talk a little bit about his wife, Martha, who's just fabulous. And they've co-authored over 40 books and a new one coming that we'll talk about, as well as one on brain health that I just love, and countless articles on nutrition, parenting, healthy aging. Even when I was looking for one of the videos he mentioned today on YouTube on arterial inner pharmacy that we have, I found a beautiful interview on, on TV clip that was on YouTube. So again, you definitely want to hear what this man has to say and go back and even look at some of the other YouTubes and TV spots, because you'll learn a lot. And he certainly has served many. One of the most beautiful things that he shares is the AskDrSears.com website, which is just a plethora of information and a great parenting and adult site, quite honestly. And we are grateful to have him. And as you can hear, he has an incredible accolade worldwide. He's known, but I have to tell you, the part that has impressed me the most is his groundedness, his ability to center himself no matter what's going on chaotically in the medical world, in the parenting world, in the challenges we all have today. And you will find that you're going to see how he has no problem sharing his heart and his approach to everything that he does in his life that will inspire you today. So Dr. Bill, we can't tell you how excited we are to have you today. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Valerie. And I thank you for the way you've helped me clean up my life too, with all the toxins that you've taught me about to avoid. So thank you, Valerie. And it's a privilege to be with you all.
Thank you. And we're surrounded by toxins. And I only bring this one little slide in before we go to the doctor questions, because I want to make sure, one, the new book that's coming out, we will talk a little bit about it. And he's got an offering for you that's free today called Help Heal Yourself from Cancer, an incredible section on living cleaner when we're worried about toxins. But just, we're surrounded by things that have changed our world, from the lawn to the air, to the food, to the fruits and vegetables, to topicals, to gels, to prescriptions, and even supplements. So that's where we're going to learn a lot from Dr. Bill today. So Dr. Bill, let's start it out personally. We like to dig deep right away so that we can all connect, and you're easy at that. But, as a physician, person, husband, and dad, what is the most, or one of the most important nutrition tips that you feel you could provide to help us stay healthy?
Well, Valerie, what I do in my office is I try to make things memorable for kids. So I say to the kids and their parents, hold up your hand.
Mhm.
All right. Say, now you hold the 5 keys to your healthy eating in your hand. I call it the 5S diet.
Yeah.
Now I use the term diet because we're all on a diet. Diet simply means a way of eating, not one of these fad things. So the 5 keys. Number 1, you eat a smoothie in the morning. That's a smooth drink. The sipping solution, I call it. I have a big Juice Plus 13 ingredient Juice Plus smoothie in the morning. So smoothie in the morning, first S. Secondly, a salad with spices in the evening, a multi-green salad with turmeric and black pepper, olive oil on it, salad in the evening. And then 2 to 3 times a week, the third S, salmon, a fillet of wild salmon on top of my salad. Wow, salmon. Now, why do I vote salmon gets my top pick, my smartest food pick? Because here's a little exercise for you. If you were to Google the nutrient content of a piece of wild salmon, wild Alaskan salmon, must be wild, and Google the nutrient content of the human brain, there'd be 10 nutrients in the brain, 10 to 12 nutrients in the brain that are the same as in salmon. So wow. And the fourth is smart snacking. We are a family and a country of gorgers. Valerie, we eat too much too fast. So I give the kids to remember, and I do this with kids a lot because they're little wolfers. They wolf their food. They don't eat it. And I learned this in Japan when I was lecturing over there. Japan, they teach their children to slowly eat. It's called umami, is the Japanese word for it, where savor your food, chew a lot. And I say chew times 2. I say, take. So the rule of 2s is chew twice as long, eat half as much, and take twice the time to dine. So eat twice as often, eat half as much, and chew twice as long, and take twice the time to dine. You can do that. And I was given this talk over in China one time, and a very kind Chinese physician says, Dr. Bill, why do Americans eat so much so fast? Which was a nice way of saying we're a bunch of fat gorgers. But they didn't say that. Okay. I said, okay, well, I think what we'll do then, here's my plan. I think I'll introduce chopsticks as a way of eating. So I did that in my rule of 2s to the kids, and the kids would slow down their eating. They'd pick up a blueberry with their chopsticks. So I figure the chopsticks is a way to slow them down. So that's the 4th thing, the rule of 2s. And the 5th is science-based supplements. So that's my 5 way of eating. Smoothie in the morning, salads with salmon in the evening, smart spices, and smart rule of 2s, and smart supplement science.
Yeah, boy, those are really helpful, and the Googling of the wild salmon's a lot of fun. So we've talked about the brain before, and when we get to Dr. Sears's book, we'll talk more about the brain too. But I like the
Sure.
chopsticks. That's a great idea. We hadn't talked about that this morning, so that's another really good one. That makes it fun, right? And someone learns something new. So I think that's a great
Gotta
one.
make it fun. And I throw in the brain a lot because
Yeah,
when you talk about the brain, people pay attention.
yeah, yeah,
They
yeah.
pay attention.
I agree. We have a saying in our house that we make stuffed salads is what we named them, because they're stuffed with different stuff. You know, it can be
Yeah,
broccoli and zucchini and
yeah,
cucumber. So it's not just lettuce and one vegetable.
yeah.
So, and everybody loves them.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's really great, you know.
That's what we did with our kids. We call it the nibble tray. We
Ah,
had so many kids, we couldn't stand around and hover over them and I eat your veggies, eat your veggies.
yeah,
So by the time they turned 3, I'd get an ice cube tray, a muffin tin. I'd
yeah,
fill each little compartment with a veggie, and we give them names like broccoli trees, egg boats, and then
yeah,
we'd have them dip because kids love to dip,
yeah.
like a cheese dip or a hummus dip
Mhm.
and yogurt dip, and they dip the broccoli trees in the cheese,
Yeah,
trees and cheese, that type of thing. So
yeah,
nibble trays, it taught them how, and they go to the nibble tray in the morning,
yeah.
and it was empty in the evening. Their tummy was full, no hassles.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I got to remember that one. That one's a good one. I forgot without having little kids here, but it works for adults too.
Oh
Because if we
yeah,
clean the grapes, everybody eats them. If
that's
they're in
right.
the bag, nobody does. It's very
That's
simple,
right.
right?
That's right.
Oh, good. All right. So we've got the 5 S's first. So that's really important. Different solutions, right, for some different things. And as a pediatrician, Dr. Sears, how about 1 to 3 facts to help parents raise healthier children? Because I know we're seeing some big changes in the world, as you mentioned this morning.
Well, sure, but Belly, and this is so important right now because in the last 2 years, this is a shocking statistic that in the last 2 years during this pandemic, the incidence of type 2 diabetes in children under 14 tripled. Wow. So this last 2 years, there's been no time in my 50-year history as a pediatrician have I seen so many nutrition and poor health related illnesses come on. And so I give parents my 5 tools.
Mhm.
All right. First of all, eat smart. Secondly, move smart. Thirdly, think smart. Fourthly, sleep smart. And fifthly, serve smart. Now,
Mm,
eat smart, just smart brain foods,
yeah.
real foods, and not a low-fat diet, a smart fat diet, a smart fat diet. Move more. Remember Dr. Mom, my favorite neurologist? Go outside and play. I remember my mother, her treatment for boredom and bad behavior, Billy, go outside and play. All right. I think I remember my 4th grade teacher, Sister Mary Ursula, Little Bear, they called her in Latin. And I think I had one of the D's. I had ADHD before it was invented.
Yeah.
So twice a day, Little Bear would get me by the shoulder. Billy, you're fidgeting again. You're looking out the window because I wanted to be out the window. And she said, go outside, run around the schoolyard 3 times, come back and sit still. That was my Ritalin. Work like a charm. Go
Great.
outside and play instead of sit inside and stew.
Yeah.
And that's what's making children sick and obese is they're sitting inside and worrying too much. So think smart. In other words, think smart, meaning that especially with all the stuff going on, I tell them, you can't always change circumstances, but you can change your reaction to them. You can always control your reaction to things more than circumstances. And sleep smart, because during sleep is when the night shift comes in and clears your brain of all the stuff. Sleep smart, especially for young children, that's when they grow. Your body sleeps, but your brain grows. So sleep smart and serve smart. Serve smart. And by that, I mean the helper's high. There's and you and I will have that feeling after this talk, Valerie, we'll have that helper's high because maybe a few people's lives will be transformed. I use the term transformed from the inside out, will be transformed because of what you said and what I said today. So those are the 5 tips that I try to have my parents teach their children.
Yeah, and those are really important. I know one of the things that you said this morning that really stuck with me is about start the day a happy way. Can you tell us just a little bit about that? Because I think that's really important for adults also.
Yes, it is. And it's called front loading. And that simply means the way you start the day prepares your brain for the way you want to spend the day. And so instead of jumping out of bed and checking your voicemails and your cell phones and your computer and all that, no, go out of bed, look outside, look at the great outdoors. So I get out of bed and I walk outside and I do a 1 or 2 minute moving meditation. Simply means I move my body in a rhythm with a mantra. And I use the attitude of gratitude as a mantra because no matter how life sucks, and it does some days, we all have a few things to be thankful for. So here's how I start the day. Take a deep breath. Thank you, God, for my life, 82 years. Thank you for my wife, 55 years. Thank you for my health, cancer survivor. Thank you for my wealth, 8 kids. Thank you for my MD. Please make it my ministry. Bring on the day.
Mm-hmm.
The attitude of gratitude and doing it outdoors, weather permitting. There's a whole science called the neuroscience of nature, movement outdoors. And exercise physiologists call it movement outdoors is like exercise squared. And because something good happens to the brain when you're moving in real sunshine and the colors of nature.
Yeah. Yeah. And I so appreciate you sharing that because I think, we get stuck in that as soon as you wake up, tasks.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing that we talk about there when you're talking about the neuroscience and the exercise being squared with being in nature, when you can't, one of the things we had gone over with some new studies that came out were something called Biophilics, where they show even a picture of nature can change someone's brain and IQ. It was just amazing. Amazing.
Isn't that amazing? The biophilia.
Yes.
And and what's and I learned this over in Japan when they Martha and I were given a talk over there, and Asian lectures are very long, very tiring.
Yeah.
And by 4 o'clock, my brain was gone. And our host, Mr. Saganishi, said, "We're going to take you and Martha out to some Shinrin Yoku," which I thought was a Japanese drink. He said, so we get in the car and we go up, we drive into a woods, the top of a mountain where there's a big, beautiful woods. Yeah. And Shinrin Yoku means forest bathing in Japanese. Yeah. And we get out there, take a deep breath and walk in the woods. I felt so good. My mind was clear, felt so good inside. I thought, well, that's all a bit. And then I realized when I was over there, I said, show me the science. I'm one of those show me the science guys. Yeah. So I realized there was a whole department in Tokyo University where they study Shinrin Yoku, where they take people who are depressed or have a lot of brain issues to deal with, and they take them out in the woods and they wire them up, and they find after a half-hour walk in the woods, their stress hormones go down, their happy hormones go up, and fascinating, and their immune system fighters inside, called natural killer cells, the immune system army inside fights better. Wow. Higher happy hormones, lower stress hormones, and a better immune system from a good old walk in the woods. I'll take that anytime.
I'm telling you, there's so many things we can do, isn't there, that we just forget about, or we
Yeah.
just need reminded in the middle of all these things. So
Yes.
thank you so much. That was phenomenal. So if we go to the next question, how long have you been using Juice Plus and recommending it? And when did you start and why?
Well, like many doctors, I started Juice Plus because my nurse, my wife, made me. I don't want to say my mother made me, but anyway, so 1997. I still remember the night. I come home from the hospital after having a major surgery for colon cancer. And my nurse sits me down. And you know how women do when they're talking to men, they have this disarming look about you. You just want to say, yes, yes, dear. So she sat me down and gave me these 4 pills, the 4 capsules, 2 green, 2 pink. And I said, honey, what's this? And she said, Bill, one of the reasons you got sick, you do not eat enough fruits and vegetables. And these capsules have tons of fruits and vegetables in them. 31 extracts of fruits and vegetables in those capsules. And she said, just take it. Yes, dear, right? And those words, it was just take it. That was the nurse talking to the doctor.
That's
And
right.
doctors marry nurses because we live longer. But anyway, but stubborn old doctor, I had to study it. I'm not going to take this unless I study it. Show me the science. Wow, the science was there. So I went to the Juice Plus science and found that 35 studies and counting. And the one I loved is where they gave Juice Plus eaters, they gave them the capsules and they drawed blood from them and found that what's in the capsules gets into the blood. That's what I wanted in a supplement. Show me the science. And so that I became a medical consultant for the Juice Plus company, been there for 25 years. Valerie, it is the best company of integrity I've ever had the privilege of working with. It is also the best health club I've ever joined.
Yes.
And as Jody mentioned, all the good health benefits of Juice Plus.
Yes.
It fills in the gaps because I say to my patients, do you take 10 fistfuls of fruits and vegetables every day? No, I don't, Dr. Bill. Well, you need to. For the health you want, you need to take 10 fistfuls. A baby fist or a big guy fist, whatever age you are, 10 fistfuls of fruits and vegetables. And if you don't, then you need to take Juice Plus Trio, the fruit, the veggies, and the berry blend. Do you eat 2 fistfuls of wild salmon every week? No, I'm a vegan. I don't like fish. All right. Then you need to take the omega blend, an algae blend, seafood blend, a vegan blend of the omega blend.
Yeah.
So that's my prescription in the office I use for to fill in the gaps if you don't eat 10 fistfuls of fruits and vegetables every day and 2 fistfuls of fish.
Yeah, yeah. And it's just one of those, again, as you said, fill in the gap and solution. And I always just call it Dr. Sears body insurance. It's the best body insurance that I've still found that at least patients could do while they're continuing to change their environment and their reaction to stress and getting movement and just continuing to learn to how to interact with our challenges, as we get older,
Right. And you mentioned a magic word there just now, Valerie, movement.
Yeah.
And we have become in the last couple of years a nation of sitters.
Yeah.
We sit too much.
Yeah.
And we move too little. Now, movement was interesting. And I learned this from a friend of ours who was introduced, Dr. Lou Ignero, who won the Nobel Prize.
Mm-hmm.
And he came down one day and spent all evening teaching me about inside our body. We have our own pharmacy. We have our own pharmacy. We make our own medicines. And I thought, that makes sense because the great designer of the greatest design ever made, the human brain and body, knew we humans are going to mess it up by the way we live and eat and think. So the designer puts in the body a pharmacy. Now, where in the world of our body do you figure the pharmacy is, if you want the medicines to get into the bloodstream the fastest, the lining of the blood vessels called the endothelium. I call it the silver lining. And for our listeners, I wish we had time to go into that. Go into, as you mentioned before, our YouTube, Dr. William Sears Endothelial Pharmacy, or Dr. William Sears Make Your Own Medicines. And what you'll learn that that the lining of your blood vessels has trillions of microscopic little squirt bottles, medicine bottles, I call them. And when you move, the blood flows faster over the tops of the medicine bottles and floods your bloodstream with all these medicines. 23 they've isolated so far. Medicines that lower the highs, high blood pressure, high blood cholesterol, high blood sugar, medicines that elevate the lows, antidepressants, medicines that mellow your moods, anti-anxieties, medicines that heal your hurts, anti-inflammatories, all the antis. But the medicines you make are better than the medicines you take because they're custom made just for you. So, Valerie, if you're out tomorrow morning running or walking or being with dancing with a lot of friends, you could say, oh, wow, feels so good to be making my own medicines. I'm opening my endothelial pharmacy. They're going to look at you a little bit. And then one finally, I just mentioned, just in parting, one of my favorite exercises is dance. Dancing is wonderful for men. You get to dance and hug beautiful ladies, for one thing. It's beautiful rhythm to movement. And boy, the dancing and swimming are my two favorite. But Martha was always a very good dancer.
Okay.
And I was a klutz. So I took 10 years of dance lessons.
Wow.
I mean, it was so bad. I had to hold a cue card behind her back, move left, turn right. But I did it. But so for our 50th wedding anniversary, I composed a little dance poem for her.
Oh.
And I said, Dear Martha, 50 years ago when you said I do, did you really think it through? But then you knew our marriage had a chance when your klutzy husband learned how to dance. Ladies, get your partner out there on the dance floor. It's a wonderful exercise.
Right. Oh my gosh. I mean, another example of a fun way to move, right?
Oh, it's wonderful.
Oh my gosh. So there's so many different ways to apply all the things we're talking about. And that's again why you can see why I love Dr. Sears. He gives practical things to do. We know there's science there and we need to be reminded of that, but then we need to know how to apply that to our real lives. And certainly you can have fun while doing it, as you hear, and stay in love. Even better, right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
So it's the other way around in our house. I'm the klutz. My husband's the good dancer. So maybe I'll work on lessons. We'll see. Or I'll just write him a poem. There's a better chance of that.
Yeah, but good. And play Glenn Miller.
Okay, I will. There we
Glenn
go.
Miller. My favorite is Rock Around the Clock. But
Okay.
anyway, but Glenn Miller is a good way to start.
Well, I'm writing it down because I'm open to always ideas. Awesome, wonderful. Well, we know that we're having some fun here, but we also want to talk about toxins, toxins and how they've started to change our world. We know that there are organizations now that say it's probable or it is a carcinogen. And tell us a little bit more. What have you seen and how has that changed our world and the pediatric world and our world, Dr. Sears?
Well, much of this you've taught me, Valerie. Thank you, because when I got cancer, I realized I'm pretty healthy and all. I take good care of myself, but I realized that the air we breathe, the food we eat, I call it sprayed in America. Yeah. Sprayed in America. We are constantly having toxins sprayed in America. So, and what really got me as a pediatrician is when they did a study. There's a really interesting group called environmentalworkinggroup.org, where they took umbilical cord samples from newborns And they discovered over 200 toxic chemicals in a newborn blood. See, so my wish is that we parents get together and say, we're not going to put that stuff in the mouths of our children. You know, just spray it in America, get that stuff out of there. So I hope that like in your ministry and your you've taught me so much about it, that and I remember when I started cleaning up my own living, how my level of toxins went down.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it can be just the way you eat and breathe and clean. When I walk into a golf course, for example, I ask them what toxins they use to spray.
Yeah.
And if the stuff I don't want, I won't play there.
Yeah. It's so wise, isn't it? I mean, but you know, most people have no idea about any of those things. And that's one of the things as we talk about your new book too, how it's going to be so helpful to have that other perspective. And even when we talk about that, that's where sometimes I think even with the tower garden, you know, people will say, well, I have a garden, or I buy organic. And I always say it's still not enough. When you really understand. Are you a tower garden proponent?
Oh, I love the tower garden.
Yeah.
But my kids, I sold it to our kids by saying, you know, it was invented in Disney World.
There you go.
But I still remember our grandkids now. They're like little squirrels. They come out and they nibble on the tower garden. And after our talk tonight, I will go out and I'll cut fresh greens off our tower garden for my big salad tonight.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, they're really great. I had delayed making our seeds, and it took a little longer than normal, which was unusual. And I'll tell you, it is the first time I've had that long of a gap between buying organic greens and the greens, like just 2 weeks.
Mhm.
I couldn't wait to have my green drink where I could cut the greens off the tower garden. They taste different. They just taste
Yeah,
different.
they
So
do. They
yeah.
taste so much better. The lettuce tastes so much better.
It does. And just again, knowing when you're
Yeah.
eating that many greens that I'm not getting herbicides and pesticides just makes me feel so much better. So
Yeah. And that's
yeah,
part of the
so-
joy of eating, that you know what you put in your mouth.
yes,
You know
yes,
where it came from.
absolutely. And as Jody said, you know, when you start fine tuning, whether you're adding the capsules or changing some of these with the 5 S's and so on, you're going to notice differences.
Yeah.
You know, and if you don't know about Dr. Sears, is the Healthy Brain book. Now he has all his books are good. I mean, I have so many. I mean, and I had the baby book for years. Actually, I was in an exercise and pregnancy study at Metro Health Hospital with both my kids. And I was using it then, even before I was in practice and in pediatric practice in Cleveland, Ohio. So, but the Healthy Brain book is pretty fantastic. You know, when Dr. Sears is talking about the wild salmon and the essential fatty acids, we have got to learn these things more, because I know one of the statistics you were talking about this morning was, you know, you said it's the first time the brain is sicker than the heart. I just, that's really scary.
See, the brain, above all other organs, is the organ most susceptible to nutrition. You put good food in the brain, smart food in the brain, you get back smart brain. And also what's interesting about the brain, every organ of the body is only as healthy as the blood flow to it. 25%, 20 to 25% of all the blood that the heart pumps goes to the brain. And that's also the beauty of movement. Why the brain loves movement. And that's also why which we mentioned about toxins too. Which our next book is on cancer, called Help Heal Yourself from Cancer. And what happens, to tie this in with toxins, and I learned a lot of this from you, Valerie, is that you take a healthy cell. You know, our body is filled with trillions of cells, and a cell's meant to grow and multiply. And then after it's done its job, it retires, and young new cells, healthy cells, come out. But you put a cell in an environment that's full of toxins, and the cell says, I can't live in this environment. I'm turning cancerous.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening in our toxic world.
Yeah.
And that's why, also too, one more thing you mentioned, one of the things too about supplements, I like to measure things now.
Mhm.
When people are asking, well, how much do I take? And
Right.
again, I learned this from you. So two things, for example, omega-3 index means what your level of omega-3s is. Omega-3 is one of the top brains, DHA and EPA, smart fats. DHA, EPA, the omega-3 index, and vitamin D levels. And I know your nutrition ministry does measure those.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
if patients, and it's not what you eat, it's what you absorb.
That's right.
I eat more salmon than Martha, and sure, omega-3 index is higher than mine. So get it measured, vitamin D
Yeah.
level and omega-3 index.
Yeah, and that brings up something that I think is really important, because someone will say, well, I'm taking this and my neighbor's taking this. And I'm like, I'm amazed at the differences, like you said, between people. And that, again, if you have children, right, or you're a sibling, we're not the same.
That's right.
That's why I got into the field. I never understood why we think everyone's the same, other than, of course, we need exercise and love and some of the foundational things. But,
Yeah.
when we get back to that, that's a really important point. One of the things you said this morning that I really liked and resonated with me, besides it's not just what you eat, it's what you absorb, is, and I want to hear your perspective on this too, is, a lot of times people say, well, I gave up gluten, I gave up dairy, I did this, I didn't feel different. And usually I'm talking to someone, they've done it for a week, 3 days. I say, well, after you do it for a year, talk to me. Do you find that a lot of times when people are making healthier changes, that they just don't wait long enough for those positive things?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because the gut is the quickest responder.
Yeah.
The brain is the slowest.
Yeah.
But you will feel the difference.
Yeah.
Your blood tests will show it.
Yeah.
And that's why I call it a transformation.
Yeah.
When I made my transformation, Valerie, I can't tell you how great after 6 months I felt. I mean, it was like I had a new body and a new mind.
Yeah.
I retired my glasses. I could see well.
Yeah.
And that's what that's when I found out the eyes are part of the brain, and the eyes are one of those most sensitive to nutrition, like the brain. And so, yes, you will feel well, and your blood tests will show it. It just may take time.
That's right. And I think we just have to stick with things longer. And that's why we try to educate, right? So that you do stick with it longer, because we know there's a lot of challenges that come up, and traditions, and food is very addictive. So we want to make sure that we are fueling our bodies and our brains, and really making sure that we're not putting in toxins, even when we're eating the healthy foods. I know that your book, and I'm really excited about this book, because, I would say that when I talk to any audiences, the number one fear is always cancer.
It is.
Always first that comes up. Yeah.
And unfortunately, the age group in which cancer is increasing the fastest is in children.
Yes.
That's sad.
That sure is.
Sad. I tell this story in talks too. I said, can you imagine a group of cancer cells having a conference, when all the cancer cells get together in a big auditorium, and they say, okay, we're here to formulate a diet that will help us grow and get more cancer. And we need opinions. And one of the scientists out there, one of the people say, we don't need to formulate a new one. We have one already. It's called the SAD diet, the Standard American Diet. Yeah. So if you had a bunch of cancer cells voting on the diet they liked the best, it would be the Standard American Diet. Yeah. That we need to change that, please.
Yeah. And one of the other things that too, that I know you resonate with also, is that a lot of times people gauge everything on their weight, and many people are unhealthy and are normal or even underweight.
Mhm.
So, so we've got to gauge it differently, I think. So we,
And weight, in fact, waist size, that you mentioned that,
Yeah.
waist size
yep,
is much more important than scale weight.
that's
The
right.
flab you grab, the skirt size, the belt size,
Yep,
all that is much more important than scale weight
yeah,
because muscle and bone weighs more than fat.
yes.
And
Yes.
so that's why you know belt size. When I do weight loss counseling in my office, I'll say to a portly gentleman, I'll say, now Joe, I want to see less of you the next time we meet, and I want to get your belt size. I don't even mention scale weight. I said I want your
Right.
belt size to go down 2 notches.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, that's an exciting way. And I know too, just with the testing that I've done is if the body fat is higher, the toxins are harder to get rid of.
Yes, because the
Yes,
toxins are stored in fat,
yes.
belly fat. So you're carrying around this belly fat full of toxins. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yes. And isn't the brain mainly made of fat also?
The brain's full of fat. That's
Here
what
we
we
get
call,
there again. I know.
we call it fat heads. We're all
That's
fat
right.
heads. The brain is 60% fat, so
Yeah,
we're all
for
fat
sure.
heads tonight.
I know it, that's for sure. Well, hopefully we're going to be good ones, right?
Yeah.
So when we talk about that, when is your book going to be released?
It'll be released this summer.
Okay.
This
All right.
summer.
Okay.
And now, just thought of this. I mentioned this morning. And against, incidentally, all of our books we donate. Any brain book, cancer, all the proceeds will be donated to a charity. But if anyone listening to the program, if you have a loved one or yourself has cancer, I would be honored to send you now. I can email you what's called the copy edited version of it, and it simply doesn't have all the typos changed and all that. And but it's easy for me to email that to you. So if you have cancer or a loved one, send Valerie your email address. She'll send it to me, and I'll email you the book complimentary.
Oh, gosh, that would be wonderful. I know we've got some cancer survivors and healers here and so on, and that would be really helpful. I'll send an email today after our call, and that'll have the staff email, and then we'll make sure we make a nice organized way for Dr. Sears to do that, so he's not bombarded and we're not bombarded for people that need that ebook right away.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. All right, so when we were looking at those things, I know that we want to make sure that we have some time to talk to Dr. Sears, and I know that you may have some other questions. So I'm going to open it up for questions. I know we all like to say how much we love him and appreciate him, and that's great. You can do that in an introduction, but please make sure you save the space for a question, because we want to make sure that everybody, if they have questions tonight, can get those in. So Lori, all right. Go ahead.
Dr. Sears, my name is Lori Gagowski and I'm in Tennessee.
Hi, Lori.
Hi, this morning you had mentioned that you were putting the sprinkles on the children's food. How young can they be when we can open the Juice Plus capsules and sprinkle the contents on their food?
Okay, thank you, Lori. 6 months. 6 months. So it's called Shaping Young Tastes. So imagine you're bringing your baby in the 6 months, and I'm in the office, and I say, Lori, put your baby on your lap, and wet your finger like that, and then I pour a little of the green sprinkles, the Juice Plus veggies on your tip of your finger, and you put it on baby's tongue like that between 6 and 7 months, just a little bit at a time. Of course, it'll go all over babies, have a green face. That's okay, a little green mustache. And you do just a little bit 1 week, a little bit more the next week. Slow and low, we call it. And then this is called Shaping Young Taste. And here's what happens, to make a long story very short, is the tongue is full of nerves. And the tongue, you put the veggies on the tongue, and the tongue says biochemical text messages from the tongue to the brain to the crave center of the brain, because the brain craves veggies, and the brain goes like and sends a biochemical text message back to the tongue to crave more veggies. So you go like 2 or 3 times a day. And by 2 years of age, the child craves veggies for the rest of her life. That's a sprinkle test.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Lori. And that was a great reminder, since we didn't talk about that during this talk. And one of the things we talked about there is my niece has 3 boys, and she did it with all her boys. They all eat salads to this day between ages 10 and 14 or 15 years old. So it does work, and that's a big difference, because they're always asked, how do you get your kids to eat salads?
Yeah.
They grow a tower garden. They had the sprinkles from the time they were born and while she was pregnant. She took plus, so that's really great. Thank you for the question, Lori. How about somebody else? And just make sure you unmute yourself, introduce yourself. Holly.
Hi. Dr. Sears, you've talked about the standard American diet and its effect on childhood diabetes and cancer. Can you talk a little bit about the rise of depression and anxiety in our children and our teens? Thank you.
Yes. Over the past, especially years, Holly, in my 50 years of practice, I have never seen the incidence of mental unwellness so high in children. And we need to take it seriously. And I'm glad you answered. I wish we could do a whole program on this. But basically, the children are overloaded. The one word that comes out right now is confused. And that's why I tell parents that you need, the home is where it begins. Good night, bad news. Good night, bad news. The fear factor these kids are getting is terrible, what's going on. And so all we have to say, honey, we don't eat this in our house. But mom, I see moms will say, oh, honey, you don't like your salmon. I'll make you some mac and cheese. No, we don't eat that in our house. I love you so much, honey. You have a beautiful brain, a beautiful body. We're going to eat the food that helps you keep that beautiful self. So the food you eat, going outside and play, movement mellows the mind. The best thing you could ever get. And so I think move more, sit less, eat the 5S diet, meditate more, agitate less, give them a job that gives them a helper's high. You feel good by doing good. And, the health club we talked about, the Juice Plus Health Club, I think we spend more time talking about mental wellness than we do physical wellness, because as you mentioned, there's a big need for that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Holly and Dr. Sears. That was really an important question that we're all aware of today. And it's not just in our kids, it's in our adults also, because of fear and that. So again, if you're outside, you're not going to be bombarded with some of those messages, and you can filter them better. Anybody else? We'll take one last questions and then we'll have Marilyn wrap us up tonight. Anybody else? I want to make sure. And I know let me just look at the chat here. Someone thought about chopsticks today. That was cute. Okay, we've got someone that emailed. So you'll get an email, and I'll need that emailed not to me. It'll be all to my staff so that we can keep track of that. So I'll get that out right after the call. So Dr. Sears, we want to thank you so much. And Marilyn, do you mind wrapping Dr. Sears and our wonderful people here up tonight?
Yes, I sure would love to.
Thank
Dr.
you.
Sears, we all want to say thank you for volunteering your time. We so appreciate it. And you're even better than what I thought you were.
Thank you, Marilyn.
I met you in conference, and I had a very nice time with you. We just appreciate you. And Valerie, I want to say thank you to you for your passion, your consistency, and you both are inspiring healthy living around the world. And I just love you both. So thank you so much.
Thank you,
Oh.
Marilyn. At next conference, let's have save me a dance, would you?
Oh, hey, I'm the
Oh,
worst
very good.
dancer in the world. I dance like a 2x4. So
You
you're
don't,
gonna
you
have
don't
fun.
mind, you don't mind dancing with older men like this?
No,
Okay.
not at all.
You can teach her some moves.
That's
There we go. So just we know everybody could spend their time being anywhere. We want to thank everybody for their time. Make sure you talk to the person, invite if you have more questions, they can help you. We do this the first Wednesday of every month. And it will have another one February 2nd, and Dr. Cynthia DeLaura will be talking with her, and it'll be a wonderful evening. So we can't tell you how much all of what you do, even just showing up, smiling, being part of our group and asking questions and caring, all affects each other. And we're really grateful for each and every one of you. And Dr. Bill, again, thank you so much. It's always wonderful to spend time with you. I feel so lucky that we spent 2 hours with you today. What a wonderful day.
Thank you. Thank you, Valerie.
Thank you again. All right, you guys have
Happy
a great
New Year.
night. Thank you. You
so
too.
much.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night, everybody. Take care. Good night.
Everybody, good night, Dr. Sears.
Mhm.